This is the question of the day exam edition and has been brought to you by Limitless Learning TT, where it's all about learning on the go. Today's question comes from the 2017 CSEC Add Math Paper 2 examination. The function f is defined by f of x is equal to 2x plus p over x minus 1, where x is not equal to 1 and p is a constant. Part 1 asks us to determine the inverse of f of x. So following the steps to find the inverse of a function, the first thing that we do is replace f of x with x. And then you're going to replace x on the right-hand side with y. So you're going to have 2y plus p divided by y minus 1. The next step is to make y the subject of the equation, i.e. get y on one side and everything else on the other side. Because on the right-hand side we have a fraction, what we want to do is get rid of that fraction, and the easiest thing to do is to multiply each side by the denominator. So we're going to multiply by y minus 1 on both sides. So we get x times y minus 1 is equal to 2y plus p all over y minus 1 multiplied by y minus 1. And the reason we multiplied by y minus 1 is to get this to cancel. So what we're going to be left with is just our numerator, which is 2y plus p. Now on the left-hand side, we are going to expand our parentheses by multiplying each term within our parentheses by x. That gives us xy minus x, and then on the right-hand side, we just put back 2y plus p. Now again, the goal is to make y the subject of the equation, so everything that has y in its term, we need to have on the left-hand side, and everything else on the right-hand side. So this has y attached to it. This also has y attached to it. So we're going to bring over the 2y to the left, and we're going to carry the negative x over to the right. When 2y comes from the right to the left-hand side, it changes sign. So we get xy minus 2y. And then if we're taking the negative x on the left-hand side to the opposite side, it changes sign as well. So that becomes p plus x, or x plus p. It doesn't matter which way you write it. I'll actually write x plus p just because x is the variable and p is a constant. Okay, so now we have all our terms including y on the left-hand side and everything else on the right-hand side. But we need to have y only. Let me just rewrite what we have. So y is common to both our first and second terms. So we're going to pull y out of each term, and what we're going to be left with the first term is going to be x, and what's going to be left with the second term is going to be minus 2, and this is equal to x plus p. Now again, we want to find for y by itself, so we're going to divide each side by x minus 2 to get rid of that x minus 2 that's on the left hand side. So we're going to divide both sides by x minus 2. Anything over itself will cancel, so in essence, this will cancel, leaving us with y is equal to x plus p over x minus 2. And then our final step for doing the inverse is to replace y with f inverse of x. So we now have f inverse of x is equal to x plus p over x minus 2. So that was our first part of the question. So now I'm just going to write that answer on the top here. F inverse of x is equal to x plus p over x minus 2. Part 1 completed. part 2 says if f inverse of 8 is equal to 5, find the value of p. So f inverse of 8 means that in this equation in red, everywhere I see x on the right hand side, I'm going to replace with 8. So this is going to be 8 plus p over 8 minus 2. And that f inverse of 8 is going to be equal to 5. So f inverse of 8, f inverse of 8 is going to be equal to 5. So we have 5 is equal to 8 plus p over 8 minus 2. Okay, so all we did is wherever we saw x, we substituted that with 8, and then we know that f inverse of 8 is 5, and now we're going to rearrange this equation to find for p. Now on the denominator, we have x minus 2, which is now 8 minus 2, which is 6, so we can replace that with 6. So what we have is 5 is equal to 8 plus p over 6. Multiply both sides by 6. 6 5s are 30. And if I multiply by 6 the denominator, I'm going to get rid of that. So I now have 8 plus p is equal to 30. And then I need to find for p by itself. P is already on the right hand side, so I'm going to take away 8 from both sides, or carry the 8 on the right hand side over to the left hand side. So I get 30 minus 8 is equal to p. So therefore, that must mean that p is equal to 22. So that's the end of this question. And that brings us to the end of this segment. This was the Question of the Day exam edition, and it was brought to you by Limitless Learning TT. For more information on the services we offer, you can check out our website, that's limitlesslearningtt.com, or you can send us an email at info@limitlesslearningtt.com.